The Markets in Crypto Assets Law, also known as MiCA, is set to take effect in 2024. So how's the UK responding? Joining us now to discuss is CoinDesk UK regulatory reporter Camomile Shumba. Welcome, Camomile.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Of course. Now let's talk about the EU's Markets in Crypto Assets Bill. It recently got signed into law and then added into its official journal. Is this forcing the UK to speed up its own crypto regulation?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. I mean, even just today, we saw a regulator start a consultation on authorizing an authorization regime for that sector in the European Union. And the UK is hoping to do something similar. So it has been looking at the EU for some inspiration. A lot of people have been saying that. We've been covering that as well. But the UK isn't one to sort of push itself to try and beat anyone at any race. I think it's trying to go at its own pace, and it's rather focusing on being right than being first, which is something I've been hearing. And what we're seeing is the UK's approach is slightly different to the European Union's. It wants to, instead of having like a big crypto bill, it wants to have lots of amendments that will bring crypto within its financial services regulations. So that's kind of the approach that the UK is taking.
Let's talk about the Financial Services and Markets Bill that just got passed into law last month. What does that mean for crypto?
That's a really good question. It's quite a significant bill because essentially it's coming in place because of Brexit. The famous Brexit situation meant that a lot of regulators needed new powers in order to be able to take over from the previous European regulators and focus more on the country itself and the regulators in this country. And within that bill, there's provisions for financial services regulators to regulate the financial sector as a whole, as well as the crypto sector. So within that, regulators will be able to come up with new rules for the crypto sector, which is basically the foundation in which the regulators will build on.
And lastly, what's next for crypto in the UK? What do you expect to see next?
That's a good question as well. We expect to see a lot next. Now that we've got that foundation that we just talked about, we're going to see regulators come up with more specific rules. Recently, the UK was consulting on exactly what these rules could look like and hearing from the industry, suggesting things like the authorization regime we mentioned earlier, as well as market abuse regime and lending and custody regime. So it's going to be compiling those responses and coming up with an official, approach. And we'll be seeing over time more legislation be put through with more amendments that will enable crypto to be regulated more holistically. Already the Financial Conduct Authority are starting to establish its promotions rules for the crypto sector. So by October, these will be put in place. And essentially it means that only registered companies can then advertise to crypto clients, whereas before there wasn't really any like concrete rules on this. And it also will affect overseas companies, so they will also have to be registered in order to reach out to crypto clients, and with time they may also need to be authorized once the full authorization regime is put in place.
Camomile, thanks so much for joining us this morning.
Thanks for having me.
That was CoinDesk UK regulatory reporter Camomile Shumba.